Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Fins Up Network. And as we get set for week 2 of Miami Dolphins OTAs, I've had a video in mind that I've been thinking about for a while now. So I wanted to drop that today. Before we start, though, reminder that I'll be doing a giveaway once we hit 1,000 subscribers. I think last time I checked, it was at like 850. So get on that if you haven't already. And also, I always have a homework assignment for you, or I usually do anyways. I try to remember. Your homework assignment is coming at the end of today's video. So just stay tuned for that. But I like to consider myself as kind of like an optimistic realist when it comes to being a Miami Dolphins fan. And I'm of the belief that Miami will make the playoffs in 2022. I want to set the record straight with that. And honestly, anything outside of the playoffs, in my opinion, probably has to be considered a failure. Double-digit wins the last 2 seasons, of improvements across the board this offseason. It's got to be playoffs now. So I wanted to play a little bit of devil's advocate against myself and identify the top things that would need to happen for the Dolphins not to make the playoffs in 2022, or in my opinion, kind of for the season to result in a bit of a failure. So the first thing that I have, and it's kind of an obvious one, but injury. And I wrote in there, primarily to Tua, Tyreek, Waddle, or Howard. Injuries always happen. It is inevitable, but they can be the main component for a team's season to straight up derail. I'm going to go through these guys briefly, real quick here. Let's start with Tua. This offense was created for him. He's in the 3rd year of the prove-it season. The time is now where everything needs to click. The offensive line has been improved. The playmakers have been added. Another year removed from the injury, we got the new emphasis on the running game. We brought in Edmonds, brought in Mostert. This is as close to, let's do the cliche term we're calling him. This is as close to Bama Tua as we have seen since he's been with the Miami Dolphins. But if you think about him getting injured and Teddy Bridgewater coming in, Teddy's a fine backup, but he's the backup that you want to fill in sporadically. If Tua goes down early in the season and misses several weeks, the defense is going to have to literally win these games. They're going to have to show up big time because we've seen now numerous teams that have moved on from Teddy Bridgewater. I think most of the teams in the NFL see him now as that. He's more of a preferred backup than he is anything like starting quality. So you're going to have to get most of the season, primarily all the games. We all hope all the games out of Tua this year. Let's go on to Tyreek and Jaylen Waddle. We'll pair them together because similar issues are presented if either of these guys were to go down. Think about their skill sets: speed, separation, create after the catch, space creator for others. Without one of these guys, while it wouldn't be as devastating, let's say if Waddle would have missed a period of time last year just because the lack of depth last year wasn't there compared to what it is this year, you don't want to lose either because this team is at a full go if both of those guys are healthy. And what I mean by that is if defensive coordinators need to prep for both and both are requiring additional attention, additional defenders, it opens up the field so much for the Cedric Wilsons, for the Mike Gesickis, for the new running backs. And as soon as a defender slips up or as soon as attention goes away from Waddle or Hill, boom, it is a big play waiting to happen. So while an injury to one of these two isn't 100% crippling, in my opinion, the way an injury to Tua would be, you definitely don't want either of these two missing extended periods of time. And I'll get on to Howard right here. In regards to an injury on defense, you don't want to see one of several guys going down, but X would get my vote as the top guy that just can't get hurt. I mean, he's a top 3 corner in this league. He's a takeaway machine. Throughout his NFL career, 27 interceptions, 4 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and 3 defensive touchdowns. And while Byron Jones, Nick Needham, they're good, they're solid players, it gets pretty thin after that. And with pass-happy offenses these days, with the blitz-heavy scheme that the Dolphins run, it works because you have shutdown corners, because you have X, because you have Byron Jones. That's why it works. So he cannot go down either. Let's move on to number 2. And it's new offense / coaching staff fails to click. If this new offense doesn't click early, it's not unrealistic to see a potential 0-4 start. Look at the first 4 games. Versus New England, at Baltimore, versus the Bills, at Cincinnati. And while there is a stretch in the middle of the schedule where the competition gets drastically easier, at least as how we're projecting it now, 0-4 is a hell of a hole to start up for any single team. And it almost seems natural, damn near inevitable. Now, the offense won't be at its peak in week one. That'd be unrealistic to think that. New players, new coaching staff, new pieces on the offensive line. Hell, we still don't really even know who the starting center and right tackle are going to be. But Miami needs the transition to this new offense to be smooth and to be quicker than encompassing the first quarter of the season, to encompass those first 4 weeks. So while the defense is still intact, the scheme remains the same. A lot of the same players are going to be playing. You can't go through the first 4 weeks with the offense just completely sputtering. And let's move on to number 3, my final one here. And it basically comes down to the Miami Dolphins not ready to compete, or that the other AFC teams just improved more. Basically saying the moves that Miami made this offseason didn't work out as planned, while the moves that the other teams in the AFC were the correct moves and simply played out better than what the Dolphins did. Because look at the teams that Miami's going to be competing for playoff spots with: the Bills, the Patriots, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Browns, the Colts, the Titans, the entire AFC West. Most all of these teams either A, had an established quarterback, or B, went out and got one this offseason. So while the Dolphins, yes, they made splash moves that I support, that I know a lot of the viewers support, we weren't the only ones. The Browns got Deshaun Watson. The Broncos got Russell Wilson. The Colts got Matt Ryan. The Raiders went out and got Devontae Adams. The Chargers, who I don't think their questions are on the offensive side of the ball, it's on the defensive side of the ball, they got both Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson. The AFC wildcard race is going to be a dogfight that legit comes down to week 18. Lucky for the Dolphins, we get the Jets week 18. But you got to put yourself in a position to make that week count. And what that's going to require is wins versus these other improved teams. Outside of the divisional games for the Dolphins, they've got the Ravens, the Bengals, the Browns, and the Chargers. All of these games are going to be key games when you're looking at those tiebreaker purposes. So that's what I got. Those are kind of like my top 3 in no particular order, but I told you that you were going to have a homework assignment. Your homework assignment, drop a comment on the things that you think would need to go wrong for the Dolphins to not make the playoffs in 2022. Curious to see if your thoughts align with mine. But that's what I've got for today, Dolphins fans. We'll be back the next couple of days, breaking down some OTAs week 2. But until then, Dolphins fans, fins up.